Today we've got an old friend coming to visit, a Triumph 1500, which needs some additional work to its bonnet because of a mess up and a bloom last year. So we've applied primer stopper to the basic fish eyes and other blemishes that we can see. Need to rub it down now. I was sanding down the main bonnet with 1200 paper, using it wet of course. I went over the bonnet quite carefully. There were a few high spots, but most of these came off quite easily, and I was looking really to get rid of the fish eyes and the other bits of damage which we'd filled. These had happened because they bloomed overnight, and I'd got a little bit of oil, I think, in my gun first time round, and we couldn't polish them out, which is why we decided to do just the bonnet. I didn't want to take the bonnet off the car because it's such a good fit on the car at the moment, and it's a little bit tight in places. I worked my way round with the 1200 grit paper, and made sure that it was completely flat. I did go over it and check it, and the owner agreed that it was quite flat, and so we masked it up. I made a mistake here. I shouldn't have used the polythene on the wings as this blown around. I then wiped it over so that there was no further dust on the panel, and I was also careful not to touch the panel. I was mixing fresh new clean paint. It's 2-pack, so I'm wearing my mask, and I'm using some fast thinner because that's all I had, and some activator. I put it back in the original paint tin to give it a good mix, and then I put it into the gun using a little strainer which just gets any bits that are in the mix out of the paint for you. I mix this inside but wearing a mask, and I don't take my mask off until I've cleaned the gun up and walked away. I'm using a top feed gun, which I find gives me reasonably good results. I did have a little bit of difficulty, as you can see here, with the polythene, but I'm doing this raw edge along the top because I'm not going to be able to reach it in a minute, and I'm also not going to be able to reach the vents. For some reason I started at the bottom. I should have probably started at the top in retrospect, but it sprayed on and went quite nicely. I did eventually give a second coat to it after leaving it just to flash off for a moment. I know many people will say I shouldn't spray outside, but I find I get reasonable results, and the paint finish can be cut back if necessary with a polisher and a mop. However, most of the time I find that my paint is fine straight off the gun, and I don't need to polish it until much later. I do find this 2-pack paint that I use is pretty decent. We went and had a cup of tea, had a sandwich, before we decided to go back and then actually unwrap the car. We got rid of the masking quite easily, took the mask out from underneath, and then left it to harden for a little bit longer. I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.